So what am I doing on a hot sunny day like today? It's Saturday the 31st of May and all our satsukis are beginning to bloom. Look at them, absolutely resplendent in their color. And it has been a hot day. The temperature went to about 25, 27 degrees. And you think I would be lying on my sunbed having a sunbathe or suntan. But no, I have to bite the bullet. There comes a time when you can't just leave things alone. These maple forests or groups were made by Japanese masters in Japan, and although they've been here since the end of March, which is March, April, May, it's been here 2 months. And can you believe it? These groups have grown twice the height in 2 months. Look at this one. Unfortunately, I can't be in the picture, but have a look at this. This group has about 19 or 21 trees in it, and you can see those long shoots. The total height of this group must be about, I would say, 27 inches, and the original group was intended to be this high, about, I would say, 30 centimeter, no more. But you've got to bite the bullet, because if you don't do anything, it will go rampant, and this is what's happening to all of them. This is how we've been storing them, and I shouldn't really show you this because this is no way to display them, because they're all tightly packed together and the insides are not getting light, so the insides are beginning to die. So I've got to do something about them. So you can see that they're so tight that there's no light getting inside. So I'm going to prune them. I've already been working just about 15 minutes, and because I'm a fast worker, I've done about 10, 16, 17 groups I've trimmed in 20 minutes. So it's a little over a minute each. And that is the debris that I have pruned off just from these small maple groups. So I'm going to show you how we tackle these groups. Because if you didn't do anything, the insides will progressively die and they won't be much good. So let's look at each of these in turn. Lovely light breeze blowing, but I can assure you it's been a very warm, hot day. Look at the leaves fluttering in the sun. So you see, this is what's happening. Because the insides don't get light, they will get yellow and gradually die off. Look at that one. Can you see all the dried leaves in the middle? And even this one, you can see those yellowing leaves. If I did nothing, all the insides would get yellow like those leaves. So I've caught it just in time. Although I'm holding the camera in one hand, I'm going to show you how to prune with the other hand. So this group, the long shoots there, I have to prune back like that. So basically I'm cutting it back from those long shoots into a roughly conical shape. And then once I've done that, I will do the chicken plucker treatment. So you can see there is a long crossing shoot there. I don't want that. I take that off. So this is also a new shoot that's grown too long. I take that off. And look at these long shoots. They are spreading out. I don't want them spreading out like that. So I hope you get a feel for what I'm doing. And then I'm going to do the chicken plucker treatment. And for that, I'm probably going to ask one of my colleagues later on to show you what we do with that. You must be wondering what is new today. Well, I'm trying a new device. I've spent a little bit of money on a new gimbal that is self-tracking. So while I don't have any volunteers around me to film what I do, I thought I'd do it when nobody's around and I can take my time doing it. Let's hope it works. It's now about 6 o'clock in the evening and all my staff have gone home, and I'm going to do some more pruning. I showed you earlier on what I was doing to these maple groups that we have. We have these maple groups in 3 sizes and they're planted in these lovely tokoname oval pots, and this is the medium size. The medium size, as you can see, the pot is this size, but the trees are almost 30 centimeter long when they've not been pruned. I said earlier on in the first part that if you leave it congested like this, you're going to get a lot of dieback. So all this growth, more than half the length from here to here, has grown in the last 2 weeks. It's almost hard to believe that in 2 weeks you can get growth as long as this. And if you didn't do anything, it could get almost a meter tall by the end of the year. So we've got to deal with it. So let me show you what I do. I'm not boasting, but I do work very fast. So there's no big deal. In literally 5 seconds, it is cut back to its desired height. By the way, I'm not going to work with the camera behind my shoulder because I want to see what's going on. Perhaps you may like it, some may not. Let's see if it works. So, although I've trimmed it to the right height, I'm now going to do what is known as my chicken plucker trick. Simply pulling the leaves off like this. It doesn't hurt the tree and it won't pull the seedlings out. So by thinning it, you not only let light in, but you can see what is going on inside the tree. So I can check for the crossing branches more easily. I take those out. So it's not just cutting it to shape, you've got to go into the structure to make sure that there are no crossing branches and not too much congestion. So this is what it should look like. So that's that one done. Let me do another one. So you can see how the leaves have been frayed, and this comes from the congestion being packed tight together. And if the light doesn't get in, you can see the leaves get yellow in the middle. So I always begin by trimming the new shoots off which has been produced in the last 2 weeks, get it back to the desired height or the original intended height, and we will then do a bit of chicken feather plucking, leaf plucking. So let me again remind you, the purpose of doing this is to let light in, and by letting light in, the light will strengthen the twigs, make the twigs strong. So it's not just letting light in to make the leaves grow better, it's to actually make the twigs more resilient and not so skinny and flabby. Otherwise they get very weak, and if they're weak, they will not be able to stand the onset of winter when the winter sets in. So that's what I've done to that. We've got several hundred of these, so it will take me quite a while to get through all of them. But as I say, I work very fast. Look at this one. That's almost like, whew, about 60 centimeter tall. All that 40 centimeter growth in the last 2 weeks is almost hard to believe. No matter, just cut it back, and we're back to its original shape, or back to square one. Remember that you've got to cut this because it will create more ramification, firmer twigs, not tall, lanky twigs, and that's what it should look like. Again, let me show you the detail. You see those yellowing leaves? Those yellow leaves are because it was not able to get light, so they get yellow and will die. If you didn't do this, the entire tree will get yellow leaves in the middle and the insides will progressively die. So where there are weak shoots like this, see that's a weak shoot, I will cut it back so that I get a little more ramification. These are beautiful groups. If you see the detail, there are thick trees and thin trees, all of different ages and sizes. So this is a classic shape for a group. For good measure, let me do the fourth one again to reinforce the learning process. So again, back to there. Some leaves have dried, and this is because they were all cramped together and it was not getting watered properly. But they're not dead, so they will revive. Everyone is different. Every group is different. They're all cute, nevertheless. So I've done those 4. Now let me do something different now. Those were the maple groups. We also have these beautiful little Zelkova serrata from Japan. And I dare say they're very pot-bound. Look at the root ball here. It is so pot-bound I will have to bite the bullet and tease it out and pot it up in a slightly nicer, probably an oval pot, because this is trained in the proverbial broom style. And you can see again in the last 2 weeks what has happened. All these long shoots have grown and they've spoiled the shape. So the first thing to do is always just prune the long shoots off. Don't bother about the structure just yet. Simply by doing that, you will be halfway there. That is the simple part. The more difficult part is knowing what to do when you go inside the structure. If you look at these little twigs here, there's a lot of detail in there. And pity I can't get someone to film from behind me. There are crossing branches where there are crossing branches like this one here. That's a crossing branch. Let me try and show it to you. See, that's a crossing branch there. I will take that out. It's quite a big branch. That one, I've taken that out. These lower shoots here, they shouldn't be there. That one shouldn't be there. I've taken that out. Now I could make some lovely cuttings if I wanted to. And even inside there, I have to thin it. The only constraint is that if you know your broom style, many of these broom style trees, especially Zelkova, they are grown for the winter image. And when they're grown for the winter image, they are displayed or looked at best when they don't have any leaves on them. So if I thin it too much, the beautiful ramification will be lost. So I've got to be very careful how I trim. I just make sure that there are no crossing branches. I may have to do this again with a camera person holding the camera for me, because like this it's only looking at my face, following me around. But you can see the image that I'm getting from that. You see, that's the broom shape that I'm trying to maintain. And for want of any other better advice, let me just say that I'm going to do chicken plucker trick again. So for those who may not know the purpose of doing this, leaf cutting is in fact what I'm doing to this, except that I'm not going around with a pair of scissors and taking every shoot off. That would take me forever and a day. Like this, I can do it literally in seconds. What I'm doing is I'm removing the leaves from the petiole. And the purpose of doing that is to let light into the structure inside. And by letting light in, I strengthen the twigs. If I didn't do that, the twigs would progressively get weaker. Many people don't understand the purpose of leaf cutting. It's not to reduce the size of the leaves. It's more to let light into the structure. So you can see I've thinned it quite a bit. You can do more if you wish, but I can assure you the leaves will grow again. So that is done. If I show you one which has not been done, you will see the difference. Now this is another one which has not been done, and this is one which has been done. You see the difference. Now this one has got a slightly different style. This is more of a traditional broom, but this is like a formal upright type tall tree. So let me show you how I would prune this one. Again, I would just go and do the structure like this. It's still very much a blob. I think you must have realized by now that I'm very fond of this expression, the blob. I think it's a very English expression. Blob means like a lump. Some upward growing branches I'm taking out, I mean. I've taken that much out. When I trim it and show you the end result, you realize what I'm doing. I'm trying to create layers between the branches. Can you imagine the work that goes into creating these little trees? I should add that a lot of these trees are still created by nurserymen, growers. They're not the people who refine the trees that sit in a studio refining it. They're literally grown in the field, and these poor family members work on them. I've seen them in Japan. You can see that upright style and shape, and I've created more space between the branches. And then I'm going to do the chicken plucker thing again. I'm going to do a couple more tomorrow when my staff are around so that they can follow the activity that I'm doing to the twigs and branches so that you get a different perspective. With me filming like this, you may not get the full flavor and feel of what I'm doing, but suffice it to say, I think you can see the difference. Simply by trimming like that, you can see through the branches. It's no longer just a mass of foliage. So this is the object of doing that. And I will show you how we repot this. If you remember, I did a video of those Deshojo maples, which are very pot bound, using the saw to cut into the root ball. So I'm going to do that as well. So put it back in the pot, and I'm going to follow this through by putting it in another pot and repotting these trees. So much for that one. And then I will do a slightly different project Now, what do I have next for you? I have a badly scorched maple. I'm aware that I've shown you this sort of thing before, but we are now the 1st of June and it has been ever so hot. For the last 11 weeks, here in the south of England, we've only had 3 days when we had a few showers, nothing to write home about. It's been a very, very hard spring. In fact, the spring is more like a summer. So this year, the weather in the UK has been extremely strange. We had the wettest February ever. That means the wettest February on record. And then the driest March and the sunniest April. And May was also the sunniest ever. So we've had endless amounts of sunshine and very little rain. And watering the nursery takes 2 men virtually all day to complete it. So when the odd tree gets missed for watering, I can't really scold my staff and tell them that they've been bad boys, but this happens. So again, don't worry. This is quite common. People, when they go away for the weekend or go away on holiday and they ask their neighbors or their friends to water their trees, they forget to do it, and this is what happens. But don't despair. So let me show you what I do. I take the opportunity to give it its late spring prune. Maples and in fact many of the deciduous trees require 2 if not 3 prunings in the year. So this I will just regard as a pruning exercise, and in fact I'm going to do like a leaf cutting exercise. So if the camera follows me around, I'm literally now going to do leaf pruning. You must be asking me, why am I not doing the chicken plucker trick? With the dried leaves, it's not so easy to do the chicken plucker. So I'm just going to trim it. And the way I do the leaf cutting, I grab bunches of leaves in one hand and then cut it off at the petiole. It's as easy as doing chicken plucker. Remember that when you do leaf pruning, it's very important to remove every single leaf. I find that if you don't remove every single leaf, whatever leaves that are left on the tree will try and sustain it by putting all the energies there. Whereas if you remove every single leaf, then it will force itself to produce leaves all over the tree. I'm sometimes amused when people say, oh, I leaf prune only half the tree. I'm not sure if it works so well. It may work, but it's not the ideal way of doing leaf pruning. You see, I've already done this side in next to no time. For pruning the petioles of the leaves, I prefer these long-handled scissors. The Felco secateurs I know I use a lot, but this is not a job for the Felcos. I will talk about my favorite tools on another occasion. I think everyone has their own favorite tools. What suits you may not suit another person. Even the twig shears, I like to use twig shears which are like this with the long handle, or sometimes with the broad handle. Personal choice is a very personal thing. Like when you drink your coffee, there's always a favorite mug that you have. So same with the bonsai tools. We all have our favorite tools for working with. These are the dried leaves. Usually, it only takes about 3 weeks to 4 weeks for the tree to be covered with new leaves again. And because today is the 1st of June, it has a long summer left in which to produce new leaves. I've sometimes done leaf pruning as late as, I would say, the end of August, and I still get a completely new crop of leaves. Don't leave it too late though, because the longer you leave it or the later you leave it, the leaves won't get a chance to ripen even if they merge. So how long did that take? Not even 3-4 minutes. And again, if I didn't talk so much, it would be done even quicker. So there you go. That tree has been completely defoliated, and you can look at the structure and it'll give it a new chance to grow again. While on the subject of pruning, this is a project I did back in November of last year, where I tied 2 young hawthorn saplings together at the base to make a twin trunk tree. They're not the same tree, they're 2 trees put together to make a twin trunk. And look at this new growth. All this growth, about 40 to 50 centimeter, has been produced in the last 3 weeks, I reckon. And if I left it to grow too long, it may get completely out of control. So I'm going to show you what I would do with these. Of course, the plant has taken all this trouble to produce the leaves, so let's make the fullest use of it. So rather than just keep letting it grow that way, I won't bend the trunk. I could bend the trunk and give it some movement, but simply wiring the branches will give it a new lease of life, a new look. The camera's following me around, so I'm using here 1.5 mil wire. This is just to shape the tree. It's not to make the tree presentable for an exhibition or show. So you don't have to be that fussy about it. And always the 2-branch principle. Now I've got that single branch there. What do? I will hook it to a branch that I've already wired to form the anchor, and then go to this branch, which was the one that was not wired. And that will create a new apex. The object is to make the branches hang downwards. I can't see what my camera is doing. I hope it is following me around. And then deal with some of these. This, by the way, is only 1.5 millimeter wire that I'm doing or using. These branches are about matchstick in thickness. If I left it too long, it will become so hard to wire and bend that I will have lost the chance to shape the branch. So this is the ideal time to catch it. If in doubt, simply wire everything you have in sight, and then at the end of the season you can have the choice of removing the ones that you don't like. That's a very good principle to follow when you're making other trees as well. Why every branch, and then decide what to keep, what not to keep. You notice that I haven't removed any branches at all. I've just shortened the branches. I will review this video to see whether this gimbal trick works or not. I'm sure it's not as good as having a cameraman follow me around, but at least I can do things as and when I like. For those of you who are very fond of hawthorn, different hawthorns behave in different ways. Some of them are very prone to mildew, and I think it's endemic or particular to that particular plant, which is very annoying. Do let me have your feedback on this video, because I hope it does work. And the apex, always give it a little S shape, and that will make it work. One more branch to wire. These are what we call our starter trees, very, very popular line. And believe it or not, we sell a lot of it. Look at that. These are just 3-year-old hawthorn seedlings. And by putting two together, I've got a very credible twin trunk tree. You must admit, it's not bad. So just by trimming the ends and doing a bit of wiring, I've created something nice. So I hope you've enjoyed what I've shown you, and I will experiment a little more with the gimbal and see if this sort of thing works.